Welcome to Parties Extra, brought to you by Party Galaxy. Today we have people to talk about last week's Early American Glass Club Guest Day Luncheon. They are Linda Haneborg, she was the Guest Day Luncheon Chairman, Johnna Kirschner, President of Early American Glass, and Judy Brockett from B.C. Clark Jewelers. Hello ladies and welcome.
Thank you.
Hello. Linda, you had a spectacular luncheon at the Oklahoma City Golf and Country Club. There were 29 tables filled with members' antiques. I guess they were all antiques, and dishes. I don't know. Tell us about it.
Well, the tables were all themed, and
general theme, or
each hostess created her own theme, and everything from an exquisite Asian theme that Johnna had to my theme was blue on blue. We had an early French kitchen, a country kitchen, just all kinds of very unusual and glorious settings that were magnificent to view, and so that's a big part of the luncheon is the viewing before we actually get to sit down and eat. And
so people can get things out of their homes and
they
just
do.
Bring them and set the tables.
Yes, members of Glass Club create these outstanding venues, and that's a big part of the actual show, is being able to view these beautiful place settings.
Well, blue on blue, what did you have?
Well, I had, actually, because Lalique was our main event and speaker, and I don't own a lot of Lalique, so I had a Versace centerpiece with blue hydrangeas and blue orchids, and then orchids were all over the table, and cobalt blue was a lot of my theme with the charger plate and cobalt blue glasses.
Those look like check glasses in the pictures.
Yes.
They were beautiful.
Cut crystal. Mm-hmm. So this was my first year to host a table, and it was great fun. And when you don't have everything that matches, then you create a theme that's shades of a color.
How about the Asian table? Tell us what you had on your table.
Well, kind of an interesting theme. I actually used my Helen Chinese bouquet, China, and I thought, well, I mean, you can do that in many different ways. Of course, it's Bavarian, but as the Chinese bouquet with the rust, thought it'd be kind of interesting to use some of the Asian collections that I have, and so I had two of the puppets from Bali, had a beautiful heron soup tureen, and then Troctas had done a glorious flower arrangement, of course, with birds of paradise in there. And then I had, the thing that was remarked most about my table was that I had kimonos on the chairs as my chair covers.
And Judy said she thought everybody was going to wear them.
Well, and they probably would have, as I also had 3 men at my table, which is rather unusual for Glass Club.
Well, that sounds like a very wonderful table.
It was fun. It was
How about the
fun.
generational table? Linda, you said that there was somebody I think it was Sherry Sullivan, had a generational table, Limoges.
She did. It was actually her grandmother's china, who was handed down to her mother, and Sherry then, of course, was sharing it with us that day. It was just exquisite French china, and but the highlight of the day, of course, was being able to hear from our Limoges representative, and on behalf of B.C. Clark and Judy Brockett, that's the real reason why we were able to get Lalique, and needless to say, all of the ladies and gentlemen were very excited about hearing about Lalique and what's happening there.
Who was the speaker?
He is the national spokesperson for Lalique North America. His name is Craig Zames. Not only is he very knowledgeable, he has a master's degree in theater, so he puts a lot of pizzazz with his presentation. He's a wonderful storyteller. So we were very fortunate that he was available and could come and speak to the ladies.
Well, did he bring Lalique pieces? I mean, did you all, or do you all have them?
We have some.
And you have some?
We have some here that I brought. We are also having a little trunk show in conjunction with this that we would love for all the viewers to come out and see. There are some spectacular pieces that are not reproductions, but they're part of the original Renee Lalique collection that used to be glass. They have done them in crystal now. It's called the Homage Collection, celebrating the 150th anniversary of his birth.
Oh my. Oh, Judy. Now tell us about this is a vase, and then this is a little perfume bottle.
Perfume bottle. The vase, you all remember when Craig was talking, every home, if you are a follower of Feng Shui, and I wasn't, but I learned something, should have a piece of amber because it will bring wealth, serenity, calmness, any wonderful little adjective that you want to add. So I'm a believer, so I have to get some amber glass. And the flacon, or the perfume bottle, there's an interesting story how he got involved, René Lalique got involved in the perfumes. Was he moved his shop into a posh area of France. And it just so happened that Francois Coty was right up the street, and he had been experimenting with some different fragrances, and they had been marketing them just in little flasks, nothing fancy or pretty. So he came to René and commissioned him to do some glass perfume bottles for his new collection of fragrances. So this is how he got started with the perfume bottles, which a lot of people still collect, these perfume bottles.
One of the things too that Craig shared with us was a great PowerPoint presentation on the actual process at Lalique, and it is absolutely unbelievable the number of steps that are being taken in order to create these beautiful pieces, but it is still being done the way he did it. And it takes many, many, many days to create a piece, and I believe hearing also that the colored crystal is very hard to do. But he has a unique patent with the frosting, and it was just so interesting. And you cannot tour the plant at this point, so we felt like we were right there by being able to see all the steps.
Is really wonderful.
Actually, only 5% of the pieces that they make go to the retailers. The rest of them are just thrown away. They have to be absolutely perfect.
That is amazing.
Yes.
That's an amazing story.
Amazing.
Well, okay, so do people get invitations? Do you just bring your club members? And how many club members do you have? Or how do you get invited to this luncheon?
We have, Early American Glass Club has 50 women members now.
Yes.
And we meet 8 times a year from September to April. And then we have our Guest Day Luncheon in May. And members are able to invite their guests to come to sit at their table. And again, through the good graces of the country club, it's the one time that they have people that will come out and assist you in bringing all of your china and glassware and flower arrangements and any other thing that you have to come in to set your table. And you can invite as many as up to 12 guests if that's the kind of table you want to have, or you could just have a couple of guests come along.
So just however you see it.
However you want to do it.
Well, so then, what did you have for lunch?
We had a pecan-crusted chicken breast.
But everybody had the same thing.
Everybody has the same
salad.
thing.
And then we had a fabulous lemon tart for dessert. So,
and that's one of the most important things, of course, the members ask is, what's for dessert? Because we have to have the appropriate utensil
that's
to use, because we
true.
bring our own flatware as well.
And that silver, I mean, they have some really unique old pieces there
right.
that the dessert
Beautiful.
forks and spoons are outstanding.
some of the ladies also brought their Lalique and magnificent centerpieces and all that. Craig and Judy were estimating it value of many thousands of dollars. So it was a show from start to finish.
How
It was
about
beautiful.
napkins, tablecloths? Do they bring their own?
You can choose. The club helps us and has colored cloths and napkins, or you can bring your own, or you can do both. So they're so accommodating, and this has been going on for how many years, would you guess, Johnna? The Guest Day Luncheon?
Well, since 1938, actually.
So we're
So
very
how did it
fortunate.
start? Just
Well,
this way?
it started in 1938. There were 6 women who got together and wanted to study originally early American glass. By the next year, they had 125 members, 3 of whom were men. They decided that if they were going to have lunches in each one's house, they probably ought to start limiting their members, though, because that's an awful lot of people to serve in a home. And so they moved to 50 members. And they broadened their education to antiques, Americana, and is still, of course, early American glass. One of the nice fits with Lalique that I learned was that Lalique was originally pressed glass, and then in the 40s probably they moved into crystal, and so it was kind of a nice coordination with how our club originally started.
And you're every meeting you have some very good speaker.
Every meeting we have a luncheon, again in a member's home, and then we have a program. Now the program may be a guest speaker, or it may be someone within the club who actually puts on the program.
Well, that's good. So have you all published a book with all the photos of these tables?
We've published one that we have for the club. We have a historian for the club, and so we do scrapbooks every year. And then for our 70th anniversary, we again had a kind of a pictorial made, and I believe for the 60th anniversary, we actually had a book that was published for the club.
As probably all of you know too, the club keeps a huge scrapbook of various pictures in the paper. And that day, several of the pages were open to earlier Glass Club luncheons. It was so interesting to see from several years ago. So this has really been a tradition.
So who is next year's chairman, and do they start right now?
Cheryl Hewitt is the co-chair, and my co-chair this year was Rachel Holden, who was unable to attend, but she worked with me right up to the very last minute. And so Cheryl, as said, has been announced as the co-chair for next year, so she's will be deciding or inviting a co-chair with her as well.
Actually, Pam Couch has agreed to
see?
co-chair with Cheryl Hewitt.
You heard it
Yes,
here
you
first.
heard it here first.
That's terrific.
29 tables is that's pretty
It's
awesome.
quite an undertaking.
So anything else about early American glass or BC Clark's or?
I didn't mention, I said when you come by to see the trunk show pieces, I'm at Penn Square, and that's where the trunk show pieces
And what
are.
day is that?
It's now through the 15th of June.
Okay, perfect. And so we ask for you and say, show us.
You don't have to ask for me, just meander through like you always do and just start looking around, and if you miss it all, or somebody will point you in the right direction.
That's great.
And Clark's has many pieces for sale, but they have a beautiful, again, this vintage collection that's there that's just awesome.
The homage collection really is fabulous.
Very well worth seeing.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, what a wonderful tradition for Oklahoma City. I think that everyone covets an invitation to this luncheon. So maybe you need to publish a list of all the members so we all can start working on them for an invitation for next year. Congratulations on such a beautiful event, and thank you all for coming in to tell us about it. And thank you, Jim Valium, for our flowers from Tractus today, and Joy Reed Belt for our artwork, background artwork from JRB Art at the Elms. Thanks.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.